Hey YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing a review. It's going to be a video review to test out a template that you can get on VideoHive. Now, to give a bit of context here, last year I created a tutorial for After Effects to give stills perspective using a 2.5D system and using a displacement map on a photo so that you would get this kind of perspective shift like that. And it's been quite a popular tutorial. I've had a lot of views on it, but especially I've had a lot of engagement with the comments, and people have been leaving comments and questions, and that's fantastic because I love to be able to engage with people who are watching it and help them out if they have any questions. Now, one of the comments was from a guy called Gaëtan Boutet, who said, or you can use Volumax if you want to go faster, and a link to his video. Now, I was a bit intrigued by this, so I went to check it out. And I thought, okay, it's got its merits, it's pretty cool, but a lot of it seemed like it was being pushed a tiny bit too far. And in the way that I showed in my tutorial, when you push it too far, it starts distorting the face in weird ways. So I left a comment saying that I thought some of it was a bit too extreme. And to his credit, the guy sent me an email saying, look, you seem to know a bit about this whole parallax and displacement map thing, so if you'd be willing, I'll send you the template and you could do a review of it. So I said, sure, why not? Thought it would be a chance to get my hands on it and play with it a bit. The template, I mean. So anyway, I downloaded the template, loaded it up, and used a photo that I had taken instead of one of the stock photos that he gave with the template. And I just had to play around with it, and I've got to say, it's pretty cool. Okay, so first things first, you've got to know that the whole displacement map process is the same. You're going to have to bring it into Photoshop. He does show in his tutorial on how to use his template that you can do this within After Effects straight away natively without having to go into Photoshop, mess around, and then export that and bring it back into After Effects. But he only does it for landscape, and I don't think you'd quite have the same amount of power and precision as you do in Photoshop, which he says himself. For something like a portrait, which is what I'm interested in for this process, is using this for portraiture, you're going to want to have a lot of detail and a lot of fine areas where it's brighter or darker, which I can't really see achieving on After Effects with any good results. Assuming you have a displacement map already made, and if you don't know how to make that, follow my tutorial. So let's just open Volumax. So we'll go open project, and no, I don't want to save untitled. There's nothing there. Okay, so in the folder that you would download if you were to buy the template, you'll see that there's a CS 5.5 version if you're still on the Creative Suite, or there is the CC version for people who are on Creative Cloud. Now I'm on Creative Cloud, so I'll open that one. I get this saying the project must be converted from version 12, Windows 64. The original file will be unchanged. That's fine with me. Okay, now it opens up, and what do we got? We've got files and comps. These are going to be your active compositions that you're going to have to place things in. And then he's got a load of other comps that are hidden that will do all of the work for you, so you don't have to, which is the point of buying the template. Now, I see that it's in 4K. I like that because I do occasionally work in 4K. And it's future-proofing itself as well, because soon everyone will work in 4K as they upgrade their computers and buy bigger cameras. Now, if you never work in 4K and you don't foresee yourself working in 4K, there may be a HD version of this, because it's going to be 4 times more strenuous on your machine to use a 4K project if you're downresing to 1080 than it is to just make the composition in 1080 in the first place, because your assets are going to be 4 times larger, twice in width and twice in height. It makes 4 images. Yeah. So that's worth checking out if you're only interested in HD. But I'm liking the 4K. That's cool. I'm happy with that. So first things first, I'm going to go and find my my displacement maps. Now, I used this image which is a friend of mine who was happy to pose because he's a beautiful bastard. And I've cut out the subject, so him, from the background, and then I've filled it in. And what that looks like, there's your displacement map, so the depth settings if you want. I could have spent more time on this, but to be honest, it should look good as it is. You should see some results straight away. Then there's the background. You can see I've done a pretty rough content aware fill. What I could have done is blurred that a little bit to make it a bit smoother, but actually he's then there cut out, and now you can see the hair is slightly transparent again. You won't notice that at all when it's against the background, and it's fine. I mean, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but those are my three assets: displacement map, foreground, background. So I'll bring them in, and your photo is background plus subject. Okay, so drag those in there, and this one, the displacement map, we'll put it in depth painting. So both of these are going to be 200 as well, and then this guy is just going to come into the background because it's the background. In fact, what I'm going to do is scale this background up a little bit more so that it's a bit bigger, because otherwise it's not fitting with the widescreen resolution. So now what do we have? We have a depth painting, we have a photo, and we have this, your main comp 4K. That's going to be the one where you're going to be controlling stuff. And you can see here he's got these two layers. One of them, they're essentially null objects, I think, that are just filled with effects. Some of them have expressions, but it's all pretty straightforward. It seems like it's pretty easy to use, to be honest. Composition is set to 3 seconds in length, but it goes all the way up to a minute. So if you wanted to have one photo last a minute with a really gradual perspective shift, or like going like that, then you could do so. And you can see that the very source composition, which is your photo where you're going to put your original materials, that goes up to a minute. So if you wanted to do that, you could. I don't see why you would, because the effect is meant to be subtle, and you're not going to have anything apparent if it's that subtle over the space of, over the length of one whole minute. However, I am going to go back to the beginning and keep it at 3 seconds. That's cool. I like 3 seconds. And let's have a look at what he's got here. Now he's got Volumax controller. So I'm guessing this is everything to do with the effect itself, the displacement effect that you want. And I saw in his little promo video that he was moving this null object around. So if we do that, what happens? Oh, look at that. Okay, that's pretty nice. I think my displacement map could have been better, as I said, but it's working pretty well. Now, I think the thing that I saw in his promo video was that he was really stretching it from side to side, and it was just, you can see there, it's just distorting the face completely, so it doesn't look realistic. Now, two things can help with this. One of them is not stretching it that far, and two is spending more time in the displacement map. But really, I mean, this effect is meant to be subtle, so treat it with subtlety. But that's pretty cool. I like that. That's well done. The background is shifting nicely. It's looking like it's in the background. It's not looking like it's pasted right on the edge of his face there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So now, if we have a look at what's here, well, displacement blur. What's this? Let's put that at 0. It's always fun to put things back to 0 and then see what they actually look like. Okay, right. So you can see like his ear is duplicating and stuff because the displacement map is pushing it too far. If we put that, what was that, 70? It brings it back to normal. So I'm guessing what that's doing is blurring the displacement map a bit so that you don't get that overlap of pixels when they can't spread further. That's how he's keeping it nice and smooth. That's a good idea, Gaetan. Good idea. Okay, then what else have we got? Displacement boost, border relax. I'm guessing that's if you're getting like artifacts and stuff around the edges. You can relax those. Detailer, I saw him doing this thing. I think it just essentially it seems like it's a high pass filter that sharpens shit up a bit. Zoom, you can zoom in if you want. That's, yeah, handy. Parallax zoom. Eh. Not sure what that is. Fisheye. Ah. That's cool. So you're shifting the perspective so the background is going to change more as you drag this null object around. That's quite nice. 3D dirt. What's that? Okay, he's got some 3D layers with dirt on them. So they can look like old photos, for example, or look like there's a very dirty pane of glass in front of him. That's quite cool. I'm sure that there are situations where that could work quite nicely. Dust, now, this one I like. This is pretty cool. It's not using particular. If you go to Finder, it's assets, effects, and here you've got particles. They're just PNGs. They're not moving at all. But because you're having camera movements, it looks like your particles are actually being generated, like in particular or something like that. That's a very nice touch. That's pretty cool. And then flares. Now these flares, I'm normally not a fan of adding flares onto a portrait because I kind of feel like it's cheesy and tacky. But this does look very nice. In subtlety, not completely pounding down with like J.J. Abrams style Star Trek flares. But if you bring this to say, I don't know, like 25% or 25, and you move this around, that flare just shifts very nicely. That does add a very nice little touch, I've got to say. Because it's subtle, because I'm not overdoing it. I am not J.J. Abrams. Now, depth of field. That's quite cool. I think if you want to accentuate the separation between your foreground and background even more. I'm guessing this slider works on a percentage rate rather than a value rate. So 100% will be focused on the whitest thing in your displacement map, I would imagine. So it would be like the tip of the nose. And then as you move it back, yeah, you can see it's sort of shifting across his face a bit. Now, that's cool again if you've spent a lot of time on your displacement map. Let me bring this depth down to like 25. If you spend a lot of time on your displacement map, yeah, it's going to look good. If you don't, it's going to look a bit funky, because the depth isn't going to be accurate to an actual depth of field. But I'm happy with how shallow my depth of field is. I was shooting with the Canon 85 1.8 and it's pretty nice. Okay, so then we got some fog. Okay, fog, if we want fog. I don't want fog, but okay, it's fog. If you want fog, you've got fog. Fog's good. You can change the fog color if you want. And comic effect. Now, I don't see myself using this personally. Doesn't mean that you won't though. You can basically turn your thing into a comic book, like an animated perspective shifting comic book if you want. Cool. I won't use it, but other people might. Okay, then we've got the color corrections here, the second layer. Now this is more about treating the image than controlling it. So we've got exposition, which is a Frenchism. He means exposure. Exposition in French is exposure. So Gaëtan, you might want to change that to exposure, or you will confuse a lot of English speakers. Gamma, contrast. Yeah, I mean, these will all, they're all color correction tools basically. It's great to have, you know, at hand there. Vignetting, opacity, let's add some vignette on there, even though there's already some. Vignetting blur, can make it like a tilt shift a bit, no? Oh no, that's actually blurring the vignette itself. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So let's just add that blur back in till it looks good. Yeah, but there. Now light leaks. Okay, so light leak opacity. You can drag this up and you can change the color of the light leaks. Now, that's quite cool. I mean, it basically just looks like a solid that's masked out a bit, but that's quite nice. I mean, it adds a tiny bit of tinting to it, which is always welcome. Okay, and then text. I'm not sure what text is. Okay, so you can overlay some text if you want, which doesn't seem to shift with your perspective change. Does it? Oh no, it does. Whoa, crazy. Okay, well, I don't want the text, but people might want captions. That's always good. Now, next along, Zone Protect. You can see up here in the controller, up the top, there is Zone Protect, Create Zone. I'm guessing what this does is it will create a space where the displacement map won't affect it, and it won't affect it by the value that you add. So if you add a small value, it'll just reduce the opacity of the effect slightly. If you add a big value, it will completely ignore that area and not shift anything. So I'm going to try it on his neck because I realized that my displacement map does not look great on the neck. So let me drag that down. Let me move this in so it's a nice small area, like so. I don't want to get the chin because I do want his chin moving. It's just the bottom of the neck really. I don't want to get the shirt either because I liked how I did the shirt. Okay, so just that. Now, let's go to Zone Protector. And the slider, we'll slide this up to, give it 50. Okay, and now let's see. If we're shifting this, his neck is not being distorted. However, if we bring that back to 0, you can see there the neck just goes and like squishes out. You could do it on the ear as well. So let's see, 50, and it just brings it in, it mellows it out a bit. If I brought that up to 100, it would, I think, double the power of the smoothing. That's pretty handy. That's good. I mean, there's some areas that it doesn't matter how long you spend there, the displacement map is just not going to be good because you're trying to shift perspective of something that's it's really not able to be shifted on. I think that's pretty good, Gaëtan. You've done a good job. Anyway, this template is available on videohive.net and under the username cream-motion, cream-motion, that is Gaëtan's username. And you can see he's got a bunch of different templates here, which are pretty cool. And here is Volumax 3D. He's done a pretty good job with it, I've got to say. It's something that I could see myself actually paying 38 bucks for, because I do tend to do this parallax thing for a lot of my clients, the 2.5D shifts. It works very nicely. It's something that people are interested in because it can give a bit more oomph to a slideshow, rather than it just being a boring Ken Burns in-out. Not that Ken Burns' in-out is boring in any way, but I'm sure his wife would agree. So, what you've got here is something that's worth investing in, I think. just for the sake of those lens flares, the dirt, the light leaks, and the way that it orbits around the subject rather than just slides back and forth. I think that makes it pretty cool. And if you are interested in buying it, click on the link that's in the description to get there, that has my username at the end, because I get a percentage if you buy it through that link. It's good, it's good. All right, thank you very much for watching. I hope you either like or explore the uses of Volumax if you're into this whole displacement map and perspective shifts. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.